A billionaire died with my hand in his cameras, beating against the ICU glass like angry rain, and the woman he reached for in his final breath wasn't me. It was the secret daughter I had to find. Tell me if a dying man pressed a photo and a silver key into your palm and said, "Please, would you say yes, or would you walk away and keep your life quiet, small, safe?" I didn't walk away. My name is Stella. I'm a nurse in Abuja, the quiet type people misjudge first in and last out, the one who hums under her mask and counts pills twice because older hands shake when no one's watching. That night, the sky broke open, thunder rolling through the windows, rain slamming the glass like it had a grudge, and the emergency bell sliced the corridor in half. "Prepare the VIP room," matron barked, and the hospital did what hospitals do when money arrives. It changed temperature. Black SUVs with men in dark glasses, radios buzzing, doors thrown wide, and on the stretcher, a man the city knew by rumor, but not by truth. Chief Alhaji Idris Bear, oil money, 6 houses in places you pronounce like trophies, a family tree that fought itself in court like it was a sport. Long scar above one brow, beard gone the color of winter oxygen, hissing chest, climbing the mountain of each breath, as if air had to be convinced. The staff put on their best faces, a couple of nurses sprayed perfume like we were scenting a palace. And then after the rush, the noise thinned, and the building settled into that strange 2 a.m. quiet, where machines talk and people don't. His eyelids cracked like doors that had rusted shut, and I leaned close with a cup and a straw, steady hands, steady voice. "Water," he rasped, and I held the straw until the shake left his throat. "Who are you?" he whispered. "Stella," I said, and he studied me like he was trying to read a word he hadn't used in years. Then, soft but sharp, "Don't let them near me." I asked who he meant. "Them. My people, staff, family. I don't trust them. You stayed, you stay. I'm not starstruck, not by ministers or businessmen or anyone who thinks titles can buy clean sheets. So I said the only thing that felt right. I'll stay." He slept. I watched his numbers breathe, and when the hallway creaked like an old ship, I reminded myself that a patient is a patient whether it's the president's cousin or the cleaner's wife. You know what I mean. Morning brought a storm of shoes and whispering suits sharp enough to cut skin, a woman in heels and a scarf pulled too high, a lawyer who held his folder like a shield. They pushed. He refused. "If it's not Nurse Stella, I don't want to see anybody," he said through plastic and pain, and matron shot me a look that asked what I had done to the balance of our world. I only stayed. He didn't brag, not once, not that day or the next. He asked about my mother, why I chose nursing, why my hands were gentle with old men who pretended they didn't need help to swallow pills. I told him the truth. A long time ago, my mother bled more than a body can bear, and by the time help arrived, there was too much silence in the room. So I promised the small girl inside me that if I couldn't save the person I loved, I would help someone else's person breathe long enough for another goodbye. He listened with his eyes, a soft nod now and then, and when I cleaned the blood from his nose with warm water, he said, "You're not like them," and I didn't ask who them was, because we both knew. On the 7th day, he asked, "Do you believe in second chances?" And I said yes, not the magic kind that erases history, the honest kind that makes you stop lying to yourself so today can breathe. He closed his eyes like a man stepping into a cold river. "Then I need yours," he said, and the words settled in the room like dust you can see in a stripe of sunlight. Hours later, when the building had fallen into that late morning trance, he spoke again. "To sleep in a house full of people and still feel alone. Do you know that feeling? And I told him sometimes I cry alone so I can smile when the ward wakes up. He gave me half a smile back. Then, gripping the sheet with fingers that trembled, "Don't believe what they tell you, and don't trust them either. When I stop breathing, they will come like vultures. Some will cry, some will shout, but they want the same thing. My name, my land, my signature." He searched my face as if I might judge him. "I don't judge patients, I keep them warm. There was a woman," he said. "Mariam. I loved her. I left her. She carried my child." He pointed to the floor, breath snagging. Under the bed, a bag. Small black leather zipper, stiff from years of silence inside a thick brown envelope. A silver key that looked ordinary until it touched my skin, and a photo. A young woman in a faded scarf, soft eyes, a baby asleep with its mouth open like a small bird. "That's her," he whispered, the corners of his eyes shining. "I gave her a house far from the city because my family said she wasn't good enough, and I promised to return. Then pride made a taller promise." He swallowed. "I need you to go there, Stella. Find her or the child. Bring them to me before I go." Pattern interrupt. I'm a nurse, not a detective. But I said yes, because the line between your job and your purpose is one decision wide, and sometimes the hallway is too quiet to pretend you didn't hear. "Use this address," he said. "Find a man named Oho. Don't use your real name in Kuda. Don't tell anyone why you're there. They'll watch you, they already are." He slid a small plastic bag of cash into my hand, a folded paper with a caretaker's number, and for the first time a tear crawled down his cheek. I tucked the key into my pocket, like a heartbeat slipped the envelope flat against my ribs, and when I left the room, I felt the hospital shift under my feet, as if the building understood I was carrying a story that could set it on fire. I didn't sleep. At dawn, I texted Matron about a family emergency, packed 2 simple dresses, a scarf, a notepad, a power bank, and the things that mattered. The photo, the key, the address, the envelope. Zuba Park was the kind of busy that makes you both tired and alive, drivers shouting the names of places like spells, women frying puff-puff under umbrellas, the color of summer, a baby crying because honesty is loud at that age. The bus to Kuda was older than it deserved. Cracked windows, torn seats, heat hanging in the air, like a dare. The city fell behind us, high buildings turning into roofs that looked like they were thinking of leaving roads, deciding they were red earth after all. "Last stop," the driver said, and the sun walked up to my face and asked me if I was serious. Kuda is a place where simple things are complicated when you look closely. Red soil that stains your shoes and your memory goats under mango trees, chewing like old men, thinking children chasing a tire that could be the moon if you squinted. I found Oho by a roadside pan, hands, rough eyes, kind, the kind of man who keeps time for people who forget they have any. He looked at the photo and the key and nodded like a secret he'd been holding had a name again. He led me down a path to a quiet compound with a rusty gate and walls the color of cream left in the sun. The grass was cut, the path swept as if love made visits on a schedule the rest of the world ignored. The silver key turned like it had been waiting for my fingers. Inside it smelled like clean dust, a sofa with crochet on the table, a curtain sewn from fabric that carried stories in its pattern. "She lived here 3 years, Oho said, and left when men in suits started asking questions that didn't sound like love." There was a locked room at the end of the hall. The key clicked, the air inside had the sweet weight of time. A bed neatly made, a scarf that matched the photo, a small drawer with dozens of letters addressed to Idris, but never sent words, like bricks trying to build a bridge that the river kept swallowing. On the wall, drawings of flowers, a sun, a man holding a woman's hand. In a wooden box, a tiny pink shoe, a doll with one eye, and under it all the paper that changed everything. A birth certificate. Name: Aisha Mariam Bear. Father: Idris Bear. Mother: Mariam Hassan. My hands shook, and for a second I forgot how to breathe. Proof isn't kindness, but it is solid ground. Wait! The ground moved. Mama Uduak, the elder who carries the village's memory like a lantern, told us Mariam had died 6 years ago. The room didn't dim, but the light changed color. She watched me the way old women do when they weigh your soul and not your shoes. And when she believed I wasn't hunting money, she gave me a small paper with an address in the next town. Aisha uses her mother's name now. She said she works at a small clinic. Do not go at night. Do not tell anyone why you have come when you see her. Tell her I still pray. I thanked her. Oho said a blessing that landed soft, and I walked back to the road, with the birth certificate flat against my chest, and the photo of a mother and baby between the pages like they could still hold one another if I held them tight. Aisha was a nurse too. Something about that felt like the universe trying to be funny. The clinic was small, honest white paint, 3 plastic chairs, and a fan that hummed like a mosquito with good intentions. When I said father, she said she didn't have one. I put the certificate on the desk, then the photo, then the truth. He is dying. He wants to say sorry before the air decides it has other places to be. She paced like a memory was dragging a chain across the floor of her ribs. Graduation days with an empty chair. Birthdays with a door that stayed a door, a burial with no steady arm. I didn't argue. You don't owe him forgiveness, I said. You owe yourself the right to face him as a woman, not the child who waited. If you feel nothing when you look at him, that's still yours. She touched the photo and pulled back like it might burn. If we go quiet, she said. No photos, no noise. I nodded. Just truth. She packed a small bag, locked the clinic, and we left the town with our chins down and our hope high enough to be dangerous. Back at the hospital, the guards at ICU played their part. Only you, one said to me, and not her. I looked him in the eye. She's not a stranger. Malik came down the corridor with the exact kind of anger his shoes promised: tie loose jaw, tight eyes sharp from years of hearing this. Didn't I tell you to stay away? He snapped like the ward was his living room. You don't give orders here, I said, because I don't take them from sons when fathers are patients. He looked at Aisha, trying to place her face in a family album he'd been told not to open, and when she said her name, the full one, he froze. Sometimes the truth looks like your own reflection, and you don't recognize it because you've trained yourself to look away. He stepped aside. Small victory, big echo. Inside, Idris was pale as paper and quiet as the end of a song. I touched his arm. I brought her, I said, and his eyes opened like a slow sunrise. They moved to her face and didn't move again. His hand reached into the air, and he whispered the wrong name first. Mariam. I'm not my mother, Aisha said. I know, he breathed, but your eyes. She took his hand, and if you've never watched 2 timelines touch, it looks like that. A woman who built herself standing in front of the man who should have known how to help. He apologized without ceremony. Cowardice, pride, the small daily fears that wear big coats, a life lived building towers and forgetting the cracks they cast on the ground. I wanted you to come all my life, she said. I should have, he answered. He asked to look at her one last time. She sat. I stepped back because some scenes don't require me to be big. They require me to be still. Stick around because of what happened next will blow your mind. The door slammed. A reporter slid in with a phone like a weapon light, blinking, voice sharp. "Is this the secret daughter of Chief Bear?" he shouted, and security scrambled, but the spark had already landed in dry grass. Idris pointed to the bedside cabinet, voice a thread. "Red folder," he said. Aisha opened the drawer, handed me a plastic folder sealed with a rubber band. Inside, handwritten pages labeled "Will final draft a sticky note on top to my lawyer only after she comes." After she comes. Not a theory, a condition. He had changed it. He had put her name where it belonged. The monitor picked up speed, his chest fought the air, and I did what we're trained to do even when our own hands are shaking. Call his name, check the pulse, watch the line. Aisha gripped his hand. "I forgive you," she whispered. "And forgiveness isn't a magic trick, but sometimes a soul needs a word to lean on at the door." One long breath, then stillness walked in without knocking. I checked again. He was gone. Malik burst in like a man who missed the last train and wants the station manager arrested for it. He looked from his father to Aisha, to the red folder under my arm, and grief tried to outrun calculation and lost. "Madness," he hissed. "You brought her here to ruin everything." "She is his daughter," I said. "You don't get to erase that because it's inconvenient." He promised lawyers. I slid the folder deeper under my elbow because two things are always true. The dead deserve their last decisions, and the living will try to rewrite them if the ink is still wet. The funeral was fast because gossip outruns respect. Headlines bloomed like weeds. "Secret daughter last minute will estate war." Malik's PR people called Aisha an imposter, a plant, a gold digger, take your pick. But photos from the ICU leaked her face next to his, a nurse behind them who looked like she hadn't slept in a week. Yeah, that happened. The lawyer demanded a DNA test, then another, because money buys you, repeats both matched. The court validated the red folder. The final draft named Aisha as his first biological child, entitled to 45%, the rest divided among the sons. Do you think that's fair? A daughter raised without a father getting almost half after he dies? Or is it justice arriving late and out of breath? Say it straight, I can take it. Malik vanished from cameras for a while, and then showed up at my flat in jeans, eyes tired in a way expensive sleep doesn't fix. He didn't bring anyone. He looked at Aisha and said, "You were there at the end, I wasn't." Then he asked her not to sell the house in Mama because the walls remembered their father when he was still a man and not a headline. She nodded. Truce is a soft word, but it still counts. The lawyer came too, not to wave papers, but to hand me a sealed envelope Idris signed in his last days. Inside, a recommendation to the medical board, with my name spelled right, and dignity all over it, a check big enough to silence a few small fears that nibble at you in the dark, and a map to a small piece of land by a river near Lakoa. Not land peace, his letter said, and for once a rich man's sentence didn't feel like a trick. Aisha didn't buy a mansion. She expanded her clinic, more beds, clean, paint, hired staff, hung a small photo of her mother and a young Idris in the reception, so truth could breathe without yelling. She kept her name, Hassan, the one that paid the price. We stood on the riverside plot with our shoes off the soil, cool the water talking to itself, and I told her I wanted to build something gentle there, not shiny, not loud, a place where burnt-out hearts could lay down their weapons and remember how to be human. A healing center, she said, eyes bright for the first time since I met her. Simple, quiet, true. We built it the way women build things when nobody hands them a ribbon, with locals and laughter and paint under our nails. We called it Idris Peace Haven because the man who broke a thing helped pay for the glue, and the name kept us honest about the contradiction. People came. Not the brochure kind, the real kind. A widow who forgot how to sleep. A young doctor who still heard the flat line in her bones. A boy who stopped talking after his father left. One afternoon, that boy handed me a crumpled note that said, "I heard this is where hearts get fixed," and I told him he heard right. We made him tea because tea is mercy you can hold. Now let me ask the question that starts fights at dinner tables because a good story should scratch you a little. Do the rich get to buy forgiveness at the finish line with a revised will and a kind gift, or is that too easy for something this human? A man who built towers and forgot to patch the cracks they cast in the ground, who couldn't rewrite the past, but chose to tell the truth before time closed his mouth. Is forgiveness a gift you give the other person, or the knife you take out of your own chest so you can walk without leaning? If it were you, would you take the 45% and build something that refuses to forget where it came from, or refuse it on principle and carry that rock in your pocket forever? And what do we owe the invisible workers in every story, the nurses who change dressings and hold hands and watch the numbers climb and fall, who hide the shake in their own fingers so the room doesn't catch it? On opening day, we stood under a crooked hand-painted sign that read, Idris Peace Haven Healing and Rest Center. 2 bottles of cold malt sweating in our palms, like we had won a small championship against the loud parts of the world. We cut a ribbon with scissors that stuck halfway and laughed like kids who got away with something. I thought about the reporter's light, the red folder, the dusty room with letters that never traveled the silver key that turned easily after years of waiting, and the way the river kept moving like it had its own mercy. So tell me, do you believe in second chances that don't erase the first mistakes, only teach you how to look them in the eye? And if the answer is yes, what do you think they should cost? Drop your take in the comments. Is this justice repayment too little too late, or exactly enough when paired with truth? If it were you, what would you have done? Share your story, argue with me with kindness, tell me where you're watching from. And if this puts something honest in your chest, hit subscribe, send it to someone clutching a grudge like it's keeping them warm, and stick around. Because the next chapter is the one where we try to keep our promises before it's too late.